Hi everyone, I just wanted to do a really quick follow-up video to the video I did a week ago. Firstly to say thank you to everyone for getting on board with it, sharing the video far and wide, setting up and signing petitions, and hopefully replying to the EASA email address and possibly writing to your MPs and MEPs. It's been brilliant to see how far the video's gone. It's had around about 8,000 views when I'm recording this, which was around about 7,000 on Vimeo and 1,000 on YouTube so far. So thank you very much to Bright Until I Fly in particular, Jack Nash, and the Let's Drone Out crew who do their podcast on a Thursday night. I think they did a lot to get the video out there. Also Bruce at RC Model Reviews. Of course, he's got a massive following, so thank you very much to Bruce. Painless360, again, loads of followers. Curry Kitten as well. And then we've had some really great comments on the video as well. Winston Smith made some really valid points, which was great, and gave us a couple of extra things to think about, which I'm going to mention now in a second, actually. But just an update as to what we've had back and forth from EASA. Dom Robinson, who runs Hidden Valley, sort of copied me in on a long letter that he sent to them. The letter's actually on his website, Hidden Valley website, which I'll link to in the description. But it was quite interesting. He got, it later turned out to be a standard reply, or perhaps they wrote it for him and then they decided to copy and paste it and use it for others. But there was a bit of back and forth between Dom, EASA, myself, and EASA, which was quite interesting. They're clearly of the opinion that if you fly in a club, then you don't need to worry, why is everyone getting their knickers in a knot? If you fly in a club, you're fine, and consumers are dangerous people who need to be sort of mollycoddled, if you like, by limiting the software. They don't seem to understand this bit in between where I'm a model pilot, I have been for years and years and years. I don't fly in a club, but I still fly perfectly safely and legally. A friend of mine's got a big field at the back of his house, and they've been flying there today, actually. It's not a club, but it is perfectly safe and legal and not hurting anyone. So I made that point in the email to them. One of the things they did say in their email, which may be a standard email, was that they're consulting with model associations. So I asked for a meeting with them. I said, anytime, I can be flexible and I will go over there, wherever they're based, might be Cologne or Brussels or somewhere, and meet with them. I haven't had a confirmation on that yet, so one of the things I was going to say, if anyone hasn't yet sent their email to EASA, perhaps that's something you could mention, that you'd like them to have a meeting with me, and also if you want me to raise anything in particular at that meeting, send me what you want me to raise. Winston Smith raised the point about the EASA NAA Task Force report, which is 143 pages, I think, another big one. I've only printed the front page to save my ink, but study and recommendations regarding unmanned aircraft system geo limitations, which is really interesting because I'm just gonna, again, I'd encourage you to read it yourself, don't take my word for it, but I'm going to read you 3 paragraphs which are really interesting, sort of the conclusion of the whole report. So it says, whilst there is ample evidence of the public perception of these matters, the task force's investigation found that robust, reliable and validated data does not exist in respect of either the probability of a collision or of the consequences. When considering the consequences of a collision between a manned and an unmanned aircraft, the task force found that, while some research has been conducted to date, this is not comprehensive enough and has been limited to simulation and modelling work, which will have to be translated into information that would optimise the management of the risk. The task force concluded that whilst there are opportunities to manage the risk of a collision between a manned aircraft and a small unmanned aircraft, through product design, operating practices and regulation, too little is known about the likelihood and consequences of such a collision to optimise those opportunities. So if I was to sort of summarise that summary, the first half seems to say there's no data about this, and the second half seems to say we could change the product designs and operating practices and regulation and things, but there's too little known really to do that. So the second one, but then they've gone off and done exactly that with the EASA Prototype Regulation. And then in the first part about there not being enough data, the FAA's bird strike database was used to produce a report, I think, called Do Consumer Drones Endanger the National Airspace? And again, to massively paraphrase, I'll just read you the sort of final paragraph. Or, to put it another way, one damaging incident will occur no more than every 1.87 million years of 2 kilogram UAS flight time. We further estimate that 6.12 times 10 to the power 8 collisions that cause an injury or fatality to passengers on board an aircraft will occur every 100,000 hours of 2 kilogram UAS flight time, or once every 187 million years of operation. This appears to be an acceptable risk to the airspace. So again, that seems like an interesting study with some interesting data. So why have EASA not been able to find that? Seems quite strange. Another thing that I was going to mention, which you might want to mention in your replies to EASA, they're talking about limiting all but one class of aircraft to 150 feet, 50 metres. And that's quite a strange number, really, because I don't think that number's used anywhere else in aviation. SERA, the Standard European Rules of the Air, limit full-size aircraft to not come below 500 feet. It's further if you're, I think it's 1,000 feet if you're over an assembly of more than 1,000 people, or a congested area, you know, like a town or a city. But yeah, out in the countryside, they can't go below 500 feet. There is a little bit of an exception to that in the UK, where we have a general exemption to keep the rules in line with the previous rules of the air, and that's that they can go below 500 feet, but not if there's people, vessels, aircraft or structures. So if I'm there flying my model aircraft and a Cessna comes over, he can't come within 500 feet of me, and that's horizontal or vertical. So if he's never going to do that. You know, it's going to be extremely rare that he's messing around at 500 feet. Predominantly, GA fly at sort of 1,500 to 2,500 feet minimum, sort of cruising around. You know, the only reason they'd be messing around at very low altitude would be practicing an engine failure, which they'd do in a big, wide open field, or maybe certain types of aircraft like hang gliders, paragliders, gliders, doing ridge soaring on a ridge, which again, you know, very easy to mitigate that. We know where they're going to be doing that. They're going to be doing it on a ridge, and we can avoid that area. In fact, there's already, you know, model clubs fly on ridges with gliding clubs, and they, you know, they have rules. Models mustn't go beyond this tree, and paragliders and hang gliders mustn't go beyond this tree, or whatever it is. So that's been working for years and years. So we know about those risks, but it's just interesting. You would think a 500 foot ceiling and a 500 foot minimum makes sense, but where have they got 150 feet from? It seems crazy. I liked Bruce's point about if we're only going to be able to fly in sort of a diameter of 200 meters, it may as well be a control line model. What's the point in having radio control? You're just going to be doing big circles all day long. So that's the truth of it. It seems sensible to, I think it was Bruce as well who said to desk pilots, it seems sensible in isolation. If you had a list of different ideas of rules and you go, well, that seems quite sensible and that seems sensible, yeah. Let's just have them all, stick them all in there, that'll be great. It's going to be totally safe. Well, yeah, it will be totally safe, but it's completely impractical and completely kills an industry. When you put them all together like that, it's just too much. It doesn't work, and it's not proportionate or risk-based, which these bodies claim to work on that principle. So yeah, once again, thank you to everyone for sharing the video. You've got until Saturday, the 15th, to get your emails into EASA. I'm very happy to go and have that meeting if they reply to me. If you guys can mention that in your emails, that would be great. And yeah, thank you very much again. I'll include the links to the petitions. I think I already have in the old video, but maybe not. But there's 2 petitions. Somebody asked me, is it worth signing them? I can't do any harm. I think if I go and have a meeting with them and I can point and say, look, 3,000 people signed this petition in the UK. This is a serious issue. It's not just me. It's a lot of people behind me, kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely worth doing. It doesn't cost anything. It's a shame you can only do it in the UK, I think, on one of them, because obviously this affects the whole of Europe. But I think maybe the change.org one, maybe everyone can sign that. Not sure. Certainly on the government one, it seems to be only UK. Again, I don't know if Parliament will have a debate about it or anything like that. I'm not too worried about that. I just want to be able to go to EASA and say, look, have a look at this. There's 3,000 people signed that. This is a big issue. So, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. Catch you later.